Lecture 23 The Four Elements of Reflection, Part 2. 2. Let go of emotions. I have just discussed the first essential element of reflection, which is to step back. What is the second essential element? It is to let go of emotions. This element is crucial because emotions often hinder reflection. Positive emotions can hinder reflection. Do you remember the IKEA effect I mentioned before? It means that we tend to like things more when we put effort into creating them. This applies to furniture and also to ideas. We tend to like our own ideas more and, as a result, we are less willing to consider the possibility that they might be wrong. This makes it difficult to reflect. In my previous talk, I introduced a method of pre-reflective thinking called premortem. This method involves assuming that the project has already failed and considering the possible reasons for the failure before the project even begins. This method helps you step back from the project and let go of emotions. You already have a project plan and an idea, but now you must step back from it. This satisfies the first essential element of reflection. Moreover, this method helps you let go of emotions. You have invested a lot of effort into the action plan you have come up with, and you may have developed an IKEA effect, which makes you overestimate its correctness and underestimate its risks. However, by using the premortem method, you assume that the project has already failed. This assumption helps you let go of emotions and consider new possibilities. This satisfies the second essential element of reflection. I mentioned earlier that positive emotions can hinder reflection, but negative emotions can hinder it even more. As I asked before, have you ever made a big mistake? Only a few people raise their hands. Some people do not think they have made a big mistake, but many people know they have. However, they are unwilling to raise their hands and admit it. Why? Because they cannot let go of emotions. Big failures are often associated with very negative emotions. You do not want to think about this failure because when you do, those negative emotions will flood your mind. Some scholars call this phenomenon emotional tagging. These things are tagged with negative emotions in your mind. Because of these negative emotional tags, you do not want to think about these things. Therefore, you are unwilling to reflect on your past ideas. From an emotional perspective, it is difficult to reflect on failure. At this point, I can explain why telling jokes can be a form of reflection. When you tell a joke at the dinner table, it is not reflection. However, if you can make fun of your own failures, it may be a form of reflection. Why? If you can make fun of your own failures, it means that you have stepped back from the failure and let go of negative emotions. You can make fun of this thing, which means you have let go of negative emotions. 3. Changing your perspective. By telling jokes, you have already fulfilled the first two essential elements of reflection, stepping back and letting go of emotions. If you can satisfy the other two elements, telling jokes can be a form of reflection. What are the other two elements? The third essential element is changing your perspective. Changing your perspective is a core element of reflection. The essence of reflection is to reflect on your thoughts. You already have a thought, which means you already have an old perspective. Now, you need to reflect on it from a new perspective. How do you change your perspective? I will introduce an important technique called thinking from someone else's perspective. You should note that this is not the same as the commonly known, putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes means thinking from someone else's perspective. Thinking from someone else's perspective is the opposite. It means asking yourself this question: if someone else were in my position, what would they do? Moreover, this someone else is not an abstract person, but a specific person. For example, if my boss were in my position, what would he do? If Jack Ma were in my position, what would he do? If Professor Lu Lon were in my position, what would he do? This question can be used for pre-reflective thinking before taking action or for reflective thinking after the fact. If it is reflective thinking, then it is asking, if he were in my position at that time, what would he do? Thinking from someone else's perspective is a very good reflection technique. You may wonder, what is good about thinking from someone else's perspective? First of all, when you use this technique, you naturally change your perspective. For example, when you ask, how would my boss view this issue? You naturally stand in your boss's shoes and look at the problem from a higher perspective. This helps you achieve the third essential element of reflection, changing your perspective. Moreover, thinking from someone else's perspective also helps you naturally achieve the second essential element of reflection, letting go of emotions. Because the person you are thinking from is not you, they do not have your emotions. The fourth essential element of reflection is guiding practice. Reflection is reflecting on your thoughts. Why do you need to reflect? To practice better in the future. Therefore, you need to reflect and come up with a conclusion that can better guide your future practice. The fourth element is relatively easy to understand, and due to time constraints, I will not elaborate further.